r/NoSleep. Posted by u/horrible26. Something lives in my childhood attic. It was the first time in almost 10 years I had even set eyes on my hometown, let alone my childhood home. Smaller than we remember, huh? My brother Archer said to me as we pulled into our driveway. This whole town is smaller than I remember, I responded with a small laugh as we parked and exited the truck. The nostalgia almost made me forget the reason we were there. Start with their room and get it over with? My brother asked somberly. It took me a moment to respond as I sat there, staring over our old living room. The sight of each picture frame being and gut shot from Tyson. Keegan? Archer said, snapping me out of my daze. I looked at him with a simple nod, and with that we went to our parents' bedroom. Clearing out all their belongings and dividing them between the two of us as promised. We'd try to lighten the mood talking about funny memories, but most of the time it just led to us missing them more. We then moved on to our respective bedrooms. It was one of the few enjoyable moments, as it mostly consisted of reminiscing on my old things and enjoyments. I'm gonna be real, I went full 8-year-old and played with all my little knickknacks. You'd be surprised how much you'd want to play with your toys after not seeing them in nearly a decade. Seriously, the Lego Star Wars playsets kicked absolute ass. After about nearly 3 hours of recreating the entirety of the Star Wars prequels, it was back to the depressing setting. Me and my brother had met back in the living room, so that too much may be cleared out. I never thought I'd hate the feeling of being in my own home. It made me nauseous. It felt like my heart was physically snapping with each photo and sentimental item I was forced to look at. The hatred for my home would only grow from there. As I went to move my dad's old 1940s TV when color was still considering groundbreaking, I noticed something that made me feel rather uneasy. I picked it up. Doing so caused my thumbs to press up against a warm screen glass. I only pondered it for a second before Archer once again broke me from my train of thought. You take the attic, I take the basement? He asked as he filled yet another box. Yeah, sure, I said as I boxed the television. I thought about it for a little, but chalked it up to Archer watching a classic childhood movie. I was in my room for a pretty long time. With that, I left it there and made my way to the attic, pulling down the old rickety ladder, and the moment I poked my head in, I was hit with the most disgusting scent I've ever smelled, almost so bad I puked the second it hit my nose. After half a bottle's worth of Febreze, I was ready to climb up and finish my job. After a few minutes of literally cleaning house, the smell returned. Assuming I was getting closer to the source of it, I figured I'd try to find it and fix it with the second half of that bottle, and sure enough, I found it. 3 dead squirrels, 2 being bitten in half. My first thought was, oh fuck, that's disgusting, then turned to what did this. I didn't take much time to think about it at first. Prioritizing not wanting to smell the rodent corpses, I quickly finished collecting the boxes and bags, before leaving the attic, folding up the ladder, and closing the door. I then began pondering about the cause of the squirrel crime scene I stumbled across. To be honest, I was a little unnerved about it, but I reasoned with myself it must have been a bobcat, or possibly a snake. I mean, our town was basically on a mountain. We have had plenty of encounters with smaller predators. Oh, how wrong I was. My brother and I once again met in the living room, and my sense of unease was drastically increased as we did so. Dude, you wanna hear some crazy shit? Archer asked me. I nodded and he proceeded to tell me about open-end cans of food, and wine bottles. I began questioning the squirrels again. There's definitely no way a bobcat could use a corkscrew, or can opener. I told him about said squirrel and he agreed it was weird, but convinced me the two situations were unrelated. It probably a bobcat in the attic, and mom and dad probably just started using the basement, he said. This definitely put me more at ease but still suspicious. Cause my parents never ever ate or drank down there, they'd always bring it back up, but it was the most logical explanation at the time. After clearing the house of all belongings and loading them into the pickup, it was already sundown, so we decided we'd spend the night at home, as our apartment was an almost 2-hour drive. After a dinner of whatever leftovers we had from the lunch we picked up on our way here, and a long period of just talking about memories, we prepared to head to bed. As I laid in my old bed, I was awoken by a loud scratching from above, along with the sound of a slight pitter-patter, like small footsteps. I looked at the clock, which read 2 a.m. Still assuming it was just a regular bobcat in the attic, I simply groaned and tried going back to bed, but the noise kept continuing. Deciding I wasn't gonna get any sleep till I caught the thing, I got out of bed, grabbed a flashlight and my old man's pellet gun, and made my way to the attic door once more. I climbed up and began scanning the area, till I began to hear the little footsteps and scratches once more. I followed the sound, readying my pistol as I got close to the sound. I continued till it was practically right next to me, before turning my flashlight and catching the creature that had been the cause of all the strange occurrences we've come across. Damn sure wasn't no bobcat. My hand began to tremble slightly as I looked at this creature. It was humanoid, and about 3 feet, closer to 4 actually, as the thing stood in a hunched-over crouch. Its feet were extremely disproportionate to the rest of its body. Large long feet leading to a pencil-thin ankle. The same situation went for its arms and hands. Its head was large, too large for its body, along with missing a bottom jaw. Its skin looked leathery, and dry, almost like an elephant. What was left of the thing's mouth, wrapped around his head from end to end, being lined with what looked like at least 24 small, jagged pointed teeth. Its size looked completely dead, closer to pure gray than pure white, as if they were filled with clouds of smoke. At first all I could do was sit there with my light set on it, paralyzed with complete fear and confusion. I was almost unable to comprehend this thing had even been in front of me, as I tried to process whatever the fuck I was staring at. However, my paralysis was quickly lifted as I heard the thing let out a high pitch and gargly screech, before moving its way towards me in an unnatural manner. His body moved like a living rag doll, trying to run like a regular person, bending and contorting with each step towards me. My fear was briefly replaced with adrenaline, as I lifted the gun, and put 3 pellets in it before dashing for the ladder and locking the attic door. I quickly woke my brother up and told him we needed to get the fuck out, and there was no time to explain. I began Rolodexing through my head what I was gonna say to him, and as we entered the truck and pulled out, sure enough, he asked me what was wrong. My brain landed on huge gas leak in the kitchen. You didn't smell it on the way out? As I pretended to call the cops and reported the situation, I mean, what was I gonna say? There's a goblin, monster, thing, in the attic? He looked at me before shrugging. Guess not, he responded as we drove back to our apartment. I couldn't tell you what the fuck it was I saw. I couldn't tell you why the fuck it would eat squirrel when it's able to break bottle and conceals. I couldn't tell you how it managed to use the TV. All I know for sure is it was much more intelligent than its appearance would lead you to believe, and I'm seriously starting to doubt my parents died of natural causes. After all, how likely is it a couple in their mid-50s die in their sleep on the same exact night?